Okay, we begin Perek Chamishi of Hilchas Teshuva. The Rambam over here is describing the basis of Bechira in a person's life. Halacha Aleph. Reshus kol adam nesunalai. If a person wants to turn themselves to the right path and to be a tzaddik, they have complete choice to do so. If a person wants to turn himself to the negative way, then Hashem gives him full permission to do so. This is what the Torah says about Adam and Chava. A person is unique. Mimenu ladas toiv vara. From him it is to know good or bad. Meaning it's the person that makes the choice, that it's fully in the person's hands to go for good or for bad. Kalaimar, says the Rambam, this means hein min zeshal adam. This min, this type of creature, this person, this human being, haya echad ba'olam, is unique, is the only one in the world. The ein le min sheni doimalei bazeho inyan. There's no other any type of creation that is similar to mankind in this way. That he himself, in his own knowledge, his own thought, knows good and bad, and does their desire. Meaning, any other creation is preset on how it's going to behave. Both the creatures down here and the creatures above, the spiritual in the spiritual world and this physical world, every being is already set how it is. The uniqueness, ka'achad mimenu, as the Rambam says, the uniqueness of the human being is that we're the only creation which has complete permission to choose our path. And there's no one holding him back to go in the way of good or bad. And since this is so, the pasuk says, "Pen yishlach yadei v'chulu," where Hashem says that he's sending Adam and Chava out of Gan Eden because perhaps they will eat from the Eitz HaChaim and they'll live forever. And this is all because the person has complete choice and he's not forced to do in a certain way, and perhaps the person will choose the wrong way. Halacha beis. Al yaver b'machshavtecha davar zeh. It should not pass by your thought this thing, sha'imnim tipshei ha'umais, that the foolish of the nation say, v'reiv gilmei b'Yisrael, and the majority of gilmei, those that are undeveloped amongst the Bnei Yisrael, don't think sha'kadosh baruch hu geizer ala adam tchilas b'riyasei li'esadik a rasha, that Hashem decrees upon a person to be a tzaddik or a rasha. Ein adavar kain. It's not so. Ela kol adam va'adam rali tzaddik k'meish Rabbeinu, oy rasha ki ravam. Rather, each person can either be a tzaddik like Moshe Rabbeinu, or could be like the greatest rasha like Yeravam, who himself did averos and caused many, many others to do averos. Each person could say on themselves, I can either be a Moshe or Yeravam. Oy chacham, oy sachal. Don't think a person is set to either be wise or foolish. Oy rachman, or merciful, achzari, or cruel. Oy kilai, or generous, oy shoya. Oy kilai, shoya, or generous or stingy. And so too all different types of characteristics. There's no one that's forcing him in a certain way. There's no decree on the person. There's no one that's pulling the person to go fully in one path. It's a person themselves, like we said, that we have this unique power as Yidden, that a person alone, in their own das, is they themselves turn to whichever path. And this is what the Navi says in Yirmiyahu. It says, that from above it does not come out the bad or good. This means there's no decree on the person from Hashem to be good or bad. It's all in our hands. The Rambam continues, and since this is so, Nimsa comes out. The person who does the Aveira, he destroyed for himself, he lost for himself. Therefore, it's his full responsibility, it's his or her full responsibility. And therefore, it's upon them live to cry, and to mourn. On what the person did for themselves, and caused it bad. gever al chatav, like this is what the Torah says afterwards, that how a person should be misoinen. He should have a charata, and a person should have charata on their own averis. The Torah says this again. Since it's our shutz, we have the permission to go in our way. And it's from our own das, it's our own responsibility. It was our own decision that we made all these negative decisions. It's proper for us to do tshuva and to leave our wicked ways. Because really, then right now also we have complete choice in this. It's in our hands too. This is why the pasuk right afterward says, we should search our ways and examine our ways. It's just like the negative was completely in our power, so too to change over and to go in the right way is completely in our hands. Halacha Gimel, the Iker Zeh, and this main pillar, this basis, Iker Gaduhu Amar Torah Mitzvah. This is the pillar of the whole Torah mitzvahs. Shenamar, this is what the Torah says. Re'eh, behold, nasati lefanecha hayom. I'm giving you today asachayim yasatoiv, life and goodness, v'eshamaves and death yasara and evil. The Kasuv and the Torah says, behold, today I give to you bracha and klala. What does this mean, bracha and klala? Kalaimar. The pasuk means that it's completely in your hands. Whatever a person wants to do in any type of behavior of a person, he does. And this is why the pasuk says, Miyitin v'haya levavam zeh lahem. Hashem says how good it would be if their heart would be in this way to me. This means that Hashem does not force anything on people, and He doesn't decree anything. To do good or bad. Rather, their heart and their behavior is completely given over to them. This also means that whatever a person has gone through, or whatever we've gotten used to, like the Rambam says, it's not just on the negative, but also in the positive, that the uniqueness of a human being is to go beyond any type of limits and go to the right path, even if they've gone through past things in life or they've gotten used to certain things in life. It has nothing to do with the moment they have right now, which is the ability to choose good and get back. And therefore, the Rambam holds that this is the person's full responsibility on their own self. Halacha Daled. The Rambam over here continues about how this is a basis of the whole Torah and how this fits with Hashem setting up all of creation, and how this fits that a person, he's a little different than everything else, that everything else is set and cannot go away from its nature, and a person can. Mishnah Dal, Halacha Dal. If it would be that Hashem would decree on a person to be a tzaddik or rasha, or if there would be something that would be pulling a person away, the ikr tildase, by their complete nature, if by nature a person would have to go, they were born with a certain nature that we would say to it, they have to go in a certain path, or a certain way of thinking, or a certain opinion, or a certain way of behavior. Like the foolish people that gaze at the stars, that they think that a person was born in this mazel, so they have to be like this. They were born in this day of the month, they have to be like this. If it would be so, how could it be that the Eibishter would command us through the Nevi'im? I say, kach, do so. Or don't do this. Improve your ways. Don't go after your wicked ways. But wasn't a person by the beginning of their own birth already decreed upon? Or they already have a nature in a certain way? Aren't I drawn to a certain thing? That I can't even move from it. And what place would there be for the entire Torah? What's the din or the punishment for a rasha? Or the reward for a tzaddik? We say in the Torah, won't the judge of the world do judgment? This is only possible if there is the choice and the bechira given to every person to choose the right path. The Rambam continues, don't ask and say, hey, how could it be that a person could do what they desire, anything they desire, and his path, his actions will be given over to his decision? Is it possible that there will be something in the world that will happen not with permission from the Creator and not with the will of the Creator? The Torah says, everything Hashem desires happens in the heaven and the earth. So could it be that Hashem wants a person to do one thing and they do the opposite? So the Rambam continues and says that no. The truth is, how do these two things go together? That everything in the world goes by his desire and the person has complete choice to do what they want. Says the Rambam, the truth is that everything is with Hashem's desire, with Hashem's will. And it's still that our actions are given over to us. Kate said, how is this so? Just like Hashem set up creation, that fire goes upward and wind goes upward, and water and earth descend below, and the planets, they orbit in a circle. Hashem set up all these things, and that's why they do so. It's like we said, it's Hashem's will. And so to every creation in the world, a tree growing, a squirrel going, every single creation that we see, a snowflake falling from heaven, every little thing, everything is Hashem's desire, and it's in exactly what Hashem wants. So too, our nature is exactly the way Hashem wanted it to. So too, our nature is exactly His will, which His will is that it should be in our hands. All the person's actions are given over to the person himself. And Hashem did not want us to be forced in any way, or not drawn in any way. Rather, the person himself with the mind that the Eibishter gave him does what the person does. And therefore a person is judged according to his actions. If he does a good thing, good is done to him. And if he does negative, then the opposite. This is what the Navi says, it's from your hands this came to you. You also chosen your paths. And therefore Shlomo Melech says that the Bachur, the young man, will be joyful in his younger years, and he'll use this joy to experience the world, but they should know that everything that the person chooses, Hashem will bring it to proper judgment. And Kalaimar, the Rambam ends, this means you should know that you have the koyach to do it. You will take responsibility, you'll have the din on your actions. Halacha Hey. The last halacha of today's Perek, the Rambam talks about the famous question of Yediyah and Bechira. This idea that we have complete free choice, how does this fit with Hashem having Yediyah? And mainly the Rambam's answer is that Hashem's Yediyah is so beyond us that we don't, just like we can't understand Hashem, we can't understand His Yediyah, we can't really ask a question from Hashem's Yediyah on us. Halacha Hey. Shema Toimar. Perhaps you will say, Hashem knows everything that will be before it is. Did Hashem know the person will be a tzaddik or not? Seemingly, if Hashem knew that he's going to be a tzaddik, then it's impossible for him not to be a tzaddik. He's, so to say, forced in that direction. But if you will say that Hashem knew that the person will be a tzaddik, but he still has the possibility of being a rasha, then you're saying that Hashem's knowledge is not clear. Hashem doesn't have full knowledge of the future. So how does this fit that Hashem has complete knowledge? On the other hand, the person has a free choice. Says the Rambam, you should know, the answer to this question is longer than the earth's measurement and broader than the sea's measurement. The Kameikim Gedolim Ramim Tulimban. There are many important things, great important things, and great high mountains that are actually dependent on knowing this question. So therefore, the Rambam says, in short, you have to know and understand this thing that I say. We already explained in the beginning of that Hashem is different than a human being, because Hashem and His knowledge are not two separate things. Like a person, that we are born into a world and we have a separate knowledge, and we have all these things around us which we take in and receive knowledge from. Elohu Yisbarach Shmai V'Dai Echad. Hashem, His name and His knowledge are one. He is the source of everything, and Him knowing about it, and He Himself is completely one. And we cannot understand properly what this means, but Hashem's knowledge, Hashem and His knowledge are one. The same way we cannot understand Hashem Himself, the truth of Hashem. Person cannot see me and live. Person cannot fully grasp Hashem and be alive in a physical body. Exactly the same way we can understand Hashem's das. This is what the Navi says. My thought is not the same as your thought, which means not just I'm thinking differently. My thought is a completely different thing. It's a totally different style of thought. And your ways are not my ways. Nu Hashem, says Hashem. And since this is so, it's impossible for us to know how Hashem knows everything that's going to be, and it still doesn't affect us. We have no understanding of what that even means. We do know 100%, without a doubt, that a person's actions are in their hands. Hashem doesn't pull him to a certain way. Doesn't decree on him. Not to do something or not to not do something. It's not just in our Yiddishkeit, in the Svarim, the holy Svarim, we know about this. But there's actually clear proofs in this in the books of Chachma, in the words of Chachma. And therefore, all the Nevi'im say, it says in the Nevuah, that we judge the person on all their actions, according to their actions, if it's good or it's not good. And this is the main thing, that all the words of the Nevi'im are all dependent on it, that a person has a full 100% choice, and a person has full responsibility. And the Ravid over here says on the Rambam that it seems like the Rambam opened up a question and he didn't really address the question, because on the one hand he says, how can Hashem know everything and we have free choice? And then the Rambam answers that we don't understand Hashem's way of understanding. So why even talk about it? Say you have a question and say we don't really understand the answer, because we can't relate to Hashem's chachma. So there are many answers in Farshim, and there is the famous mashal of the Rebbe that just like a person, so to say, that can tell the future, just because the person knows the future, even in our physical world, we know that there are certain people that they know the future, but their idea, their knowledge of the future is in a completely different wavelength of the person making the choice. The person doesn't know of this person knowing the future, and it has zero effect on the person's own personal choice, and what they did was completely from them on their own, in their own choice. The fact that the person knew it was a removed thing fully. And so too, it could be that this is what the Rambam is saying, that the Eibishter's Chachma is in a completely different level, and therefore in our existence here, it has nothing to do with what we do, and we make the choice completely on our own.